Hi guys, welcome to part 3 on the X2 reviewers. I'm going to throw it out there first. There's no bumpers or shell on it because it's been converted to a buggy. So the stock shell and the bumpers have gone. I'm just waiting on the buggy front bumper, the rear wing and the buggy shell. Since the last video I've said that I broke a CVD joint and the rear diff. Since then, I've broken the front diff and the throttle servo. The throttle servo didn't completely die, it just became very glitchy. So I've changed it and the steering servo for Savox 241s. It just made sense to change them both at the same time. Apart from that, nothing's broken on it since the last video. There has been some new parts added. The loosely tuned pipe, I changed that in hope to get some more top end RPM from the engine. It didn't work. It takes off the line a lot better now, there's more low down torque, but I've lost about 1,500 RPM from the top end. So if you want high RPM, keep the stock exhaust, it's much better. Other changes, the pinion, I'm now running a 22 tooth pinion, which was a pain in the backside as the spacers to get the gear mesh on the pinion and the spur gear, they are one of the only parts that do not fit the King Motor X2. I had to use a Dremel to grind down each of the spacers one by one to get them to fit. It took about an hour. The option that you have if you don't want to grind anything down is to buy a matched pinion and spur gear set. They're 60 quid, as opposed to the £18 I paid for the new pinion and the spacers. So, much cheaper option. So, you're probably all wondering, what's this thing cost me over the last 6 months? Well, I paid $630 for the X2, $35 for the kill switch. That got me up and running. I had about 3 or 4 weeks out of the truck without a single issue. Then the stock engine decided to die. I could have just bought another King Motor head kit for £30, put it back together and had it cheap and up and fixed. I didn't. I had an offer for the G320 for £170, so I bit the guy's hand off for it. However, putting that much power in the X2 brought up the issue with the diffs. I knew the diffs were going to break eventually, but putting so much more power in there made them break and wear out that little bit faster. I'm now running stock Lousy 5 internals on all 3 diffs and not had a single issue since. Other upgrades, servos, 120 quid, £60 a pop. You don't have to pay that much for a servo, there is much cheaper options, but Savox at the moment, they have a 3 to 4 day turnaround on repairs, so it just made sense in that way. £5 for a bag of CVD pins. I've broken 1 in the last 6 months. I've changed the exhaust pipe, 80 quid. The front and rear aluminium shock towers, 30 for both. The diffs were a big one. The diffs cost 100 quid to do all 3. £25 of that was the diff oil. I didn't have any, it's not something that I keep or that I've ever needed in the past. So if you're like me and you do change the diff internals, you will need to buy the oils as well, which is going to cost you an extra 25 quid. The wheels and tyres, they cost £70. A must in the wet weather we've got at the moment. FID axle extenders, £35, and I've already mentioned the engine, which was 170. That puts the total cost on this at the moment, 1,315 quid. Now, you could get the price down. I did sell some parts. I sold the stock pipe for 50. I've sold the bottom end of the stock engine for 30. You know, I have sold little bits and bobs, which have probably clawed me about £100 back. So you're looking about 1,215 quid all in all. That's also factoring in some upgrades that didn't really need upgrading. I didn't have to buy aluminium front and rear shock towers. The stock ones are more than adequate. So that was 30 quid that was spent that wasn't really needed. The exhaust, again, didn't really need to be changed. Servos, I could have got away with a cheaper set, saving me even more money. The air filter, that was a £45 system. I could again use something a lot cheaper. You know, if you take out all these upgrades that I've done for the sake of doing them, the actual price of the truck would have probably been about £1,000, which is the same price as a ready-to-run Lousy 5. But as it stands, 1,300 quid, and it's been perfect now. I'm not estimating that I'll have any more problems from this at all, as far as I'm aware, and as far as I'm concerned. That truck can be bashed now, and it won't give me any additional problems. All the weak points the X2s are known for have been addressed. Biggest one being the diffs, followed by the servos. And that is it, flawless. So 6 months on, still rocking strong, and I can't wait to see this thing as a buggy. It is going to be amazing. So I'm hope now that watching all 3 parts, you can kind of see what the X2 is like over the long term. And please, once again, if you do buy one knowing that you will need to change the differential internals at some point. You might have to change them straight away. You might not need to change them for months, but it will need doing eventually. Personally, if you can afford to change them when you buy the truck, do it, as it's a much nicer and cleaner job doing it when the truck's new. It's quite horrible changing the diffs when it's been out in the mud. And that is it, boys and girls. Any extra questions, drop me a message and I'll answer it as best I can. Bye.